Hey everyone, History Mystery Man here, coming to you today from the home office, feeling all philosophical as I get during the winter months. I love the winter, love the fall, obviously, but the winter as well. I know most people complain about it, but I love it. I love it when the skies get deep gray and blustery and windy and the flurries, and I get my best thinking done in the winter months. But I mean, Christmas time, I want snow. I don't want to be anywhere where it's warm on Christmas. But my point is, I love the winter. I wanted to thank all my subscribers and those who watch me on YouTube. I do it all soup to nuts. I was surprised to learn when I looked at my analytics on YouTube. I was surprised to know that 85% of the people who watch what I do on my YouTube channel are not even subscribed. So 15% of the people who watch are subscribers, 85% are not. And I can only imagine if I could get those 85% to subscribe, oh my God, that would really help me turn the corner in terms of the algorithm to get YouTube to play my stuff to more people. But that's certainly been a challenge, and I would always encourage you to like and subscribe and share what I do. Thank you so much for all my support. I get it from a lot of different places. I would also like you to know, I don't know why I didn't know this, but I have signed up for a thanks button. I didn't even know you could do this. When you click on a video, you'll look off to the lower right beneath my video. You'll see, if you're on your phone, you'll see a little thanks button, or if you're on a laptop, you might see the three little dots which you would click on. It takes you to the options, one of which would be a thanks button, and there you can go and help donate to my cause. I do have what I think is a pretty cool Earl Baltes story coming your way in this video, so certainly stick around for that. Now, racing for me has been a lifelong passion. It goes back to my childhood. I've been at racetracks every year since, I don't know, I was 4 years old. You know, my neighbor would take us to Fremont Speedway. I'm 4 or 5 years old, and I fell in love with the industry, the sounds, the sights, the colors, the noise, the fumes, everything about it, the nicknames. I loved it. And as it turns out, my parents got divorced when I was 8, which wasn't cool. But my mom, you know, my hero at the time as a boy was Raleigh Beal. I knew he was from Toledo, and I knew he was a Fremont Speedway track champion, and my dream was to meet this guy as a little kid. I mean, my whole world. He was my A.J. Foyt, Raleigh Beal, who became the 1973 USAC National Sprint Car champion. But it was my dream to meet this guy. But by the time we were going to Fremont Speedway in the mid-'60s, he had moved on by then to the USAC competition. So he was gone, and we didn't get to meet Raleigh Beal. But long story short, or shorter, my mom ends up marrying the guy that owns his sprint cars. I mean, I was sad about the divorce, but I perked right up, and when I found out my mom was marrying the guy who owned his race cars, immediately as a little kid, I was thrust into the USAC sprint car world. Raleigh Beal, our driver, I got to know him, meet him. He knew me by name. It was the biggest deal ever. I couldn't fathom in my mind that Raleigh Beal knew my name. People called me Bubba, still do, from home. And I just couldn't believe it. It was the most amazing journey. I think I went to almost every USAC sprint car race from 1969 through 1973. And back then, the USAC Sprints were the World of Outlaws. They were the kingpin. I mean, they packed stadiums wherever they went. It was an amazing ride back in the Gary Bettenhausen, Larry Dixon, Sam Sessions, Lee Koonsman, Pancho Carter, Johnny Parsons, Raleigh Beal days. I mean, just an amazing ride for a kid. He even took me to Ascot Park. I mean, he never left me out. He knew how much I loved going, and he always included me. It was absolutely wonderful. So I grew up, you know, in racing, but eventually, my mom remarried again. That relationship didn't work out either. My mom remarried for the third time, and she married a boat captain. He was a tugboat captain on the Great Lakes, and eventually he became a ship's pilot, piloting foreign ships through the Great Lakes. So when I was 18 and said, hey man, I want to go to college, and he said, no, no, I think you need to go to work for a while. I think you could use some growing up. And I said, well, okay. And next thing I know, at 18 years young, fresh out of high school, I'm bouncing across Lake Michigan on a 150-foot tug with an oil barge in tow in the middle of February, wondering, how did I get here? And just like that, 12 years blew by, and I served as a merchant marine on the Great Lakes. I am a tug captain. As far as I understand, you can call me out on it if you want, but I don't think there's ever been a younger one. As to my knowledge, I got my license when I was 21 years and 4 days old, my captain's license to run a tug. I eventually upgraded my license to Master of Motor and Steam Vessels for all inland waters of the United States, and I was really proud of my maritime career. In fact, of all the things I've done, and I'm not saying that's a lot, but of all the things I've done, I'm most proud, barring nothing else, most proud of my time on the Great Lakes as a merchant marine. I grew up in a big way there, he was right. But anyway, very proud of my time on the Great Lakes. We worked all winter, summer, spring, winter, and fall. We broke ice in the winter. Great Lakes industry shuts down in the winter. We did not. They talk about the gales in November. They ain't all that pretty in November or in February either. But it was brutal at times. But I'm really glad I did it. I wouldn't want to do it again, but I'm so glad I had the experience. So here 12 years blow by, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to live on a boat for the rest of my life. But in the meantime, I reconnected with the auto racing industry. Earl Baltes story on the way here. I'm getting to it. I reconnected with the auto racing industry, and I was going to all the local tracks in the area, in this Toledo, Ohio area, and I was inquiring about being an announcer, because I would sit and listen to the announcers and think to myself, I think I could do better than that. In fact, I began to understand how important the announcers are. If the announcer's bored, then the audience is bored. If the announcer's excited, then the audience gets excited. And I love announcers who tell stories. I don't hear that enough. When I did my announcing at the local tracks, eventually Eldora Speedway, you didn't know that, did you? Yes, I was the Eldora Speedway announcer in 1996, something I'm also very proud of. But, I would get to the track 4 hours before I needed to be there and take notes for 3 hours. Literally dig up the stories. That's what people want to know. So often you go to the track and that's Joe Blow in number 16 driving by there. Well, I can see that. I can see the number on the side of the car. Tell me something about Joe Blow I didn't know. Like his wife just had triplets, or he welds for a living, or whatever the story may be. But go dig it up and tell me more. I want to hear more. And I don't hear that enough from announcers. But that's how I did it. I worked very, very hard at it. Anyway, so I'd go to all these tracks, and I thought to myself, I can do better. And I tried to get into all these local tracks around here, and it was the same answer everywhere. Have you ever done it before? No. Well, go away, get some, maybe come see us next year. But nothing was happening. So here to the Earl Baltes story, which I think is super cool. And I hope you like it as much as I appreciate it. But it was wintertime. 1991 or 2, somewhere back in there. I was in Bowling Green, Ohio, at the Bowling Green Mall. I don't think it's even there anymore. And it was the wintertime, I think middle of January, and all the race cars were set up on the floor. You know how malls used to do that? Maybe some still do. All the brand new, freshly painted race cars to promote the new seasons at the local tracks. And lo and behold, I was at the Bowling Green Mall show, checking out all the race cars, getting ready for the race season, and Earl Baltes was there, owner of Eldora Speedway, and he was there with his posse. He didn't travel alone. He always came with a posse around him. I mean, many were his family, of course. He has a wonderful family, whom I got to know somewhat, but he was there, and I thought, this is my one and only chance. I'm going to go up to Earl Baltes and beg him for the opportunity to announce at Eldora Speedway, which would be my dream job. And I summoned up all the courage I had in me to approach Earl Baltes. It's like going up to a girl, and asking her for a date. You want to so bad, but you're just too chicken shit to do it. Well, I was too scared to go up to Earl, but I thought, if I don't do this now, it's never going to happen. And somehow I summoned the nerve to go up to Earl Baltes. He was eating with his people at one of those outdoor eatery places in the mall. He's just sitting there eating, enjoying himself. And I just sucked it up and went for it. I was so scared. I walked up to him and said, Mr. Baltes, I know you don't know me, but I would just give anything for the opportunity to announce at Eldora Speedway. I promise I'll come, I'll do my homework. I'll work so hard. I'll come down. And if you don't like what I do, I promise I'll go away and I'll never come back again. I promise. I went on and on and on. I mean, I acted like a fool, I'm sure. And pretty soon I just ran out of words or breath or both. I'm not sure which, and then it was over. I felt this big sense of failure coming over me. I just stopped and I was looking down at him because he was sitting down and I was standing up, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to tell me to go take a hike like all the rest did. I'm thinking. And then he just looked up at me. He was like studying me as I went on and on and on. He finally said, okay, you come out to the USAC Sprint Car Opener. Back then they did the USAC Sprints would open the season at Eldora. I loved it. The track was real heavy, so cool, ruddy, cushion. You come out and I'll put you on for an 8-lap heat race. And I said, oh, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And then I'm sure I went on and on like a fool again. But he said, yes, come on out. I'll give you a try. I couldn't believe it. So a few months went by, couple, whatever, and I did. I went to Eldora Speedway for the USAC Sprint Car Opener with my notebook in hand, my pencil, paper, pen, and I was there again. I was there before the race teams were there. I was going to take notes on everyone there, which became my practice as an announcer, to get there early and take notes and dig up the stories. That's kind of what I consider my trademark. But I was going to get there, and I got there early, that no matter which heat race I got, whether it was a bomber, a modified, a USAC sprint car, I was going to know something about that team and that driver. I didn't care what they threw at me. I was going to know something about it. And I got there, and there was very few people there, but there was Earl. He was out on the driveway out front, off turn 4 there, directing traffic. You go that way, you go that way. And I interrupted him. I ran right up to him. I said, Mr. Baltes, it's me, Don Radeball, remember? You said I could announce. He looked at me and I said, do you remember me? He looked at me, he goes, no. I go, well, you remember at the Bowling Green Mall, you said I could announce. He goes, I did? I go, yeah, that I just drove from Toledo, Ohio. I had a tie on. How stupid is that? I go to Eldora Speedway at dirt track. I got a tie on, trying to impress who, I don't know. But yeah, he goes, I did? I go, yeah, you remember? And I'm going, oh my God, he doesn't even know who I am. I got to go through all this again. And he finally said, well, okay, well, go on up there and I'll make sure you get on for a heat race. And I said, oh. Whew. So the next 4 hours, I'm just taking notes. I was a madman. I was going to know everything. And I went up there and I said, hey, I'm here to announce. And they had no idea who I was. Back then, the pilot house up there at Eldora was the announcer's booth. It's where they scored. It's where they did everything. It was the brain center, you know, and they looked at me like, the hell you're going to announce? Who are you? And I go, ooh. So I just stood up there in the back and shivered and shook. And we're down to the last heat in the USAC sprints. It's 4th heat. And I knew I was running out of time. I go, this isn't going to happen. I'm so embarrassed. Sure enough, he walked through the door in time for the 4th and final heat race for the USAC sprint cars. He walked up to the announcer. He said, put this guy on. Let him do the last heat. And oh God, I was so scared. You have no idea. My knees had to be clanging off one another. I was literally shaking. So scared. I don't even think I announced the race like people do, you know, whatever. Sam Sessions, inside elite, Koonsman through. They're side by side up. Oh, whoa. I didn't do any of that. I just went on and told them everything I knew about those drivers all the way through. I just spit out everything I knew about every one of those drivers. This is Benny Rapp. He's the oldest driver here. He's 69, and he's still doing. Isn't that cool? I think I held my breath for about 4 minutes. I don't know, but I finally got done. I handed the mic back, and I just kind of walked away like, oh my God, another big fail. I'm leaving. I got to get out of here. And Earl Baltes came up to me. He put his arm around me and said, did a nice job, son. You really did a nice job. Maybe I'll have you back and do a little more. And I went, oh. I mean, Eldora Speedway is the most famous dirt track in the world. Nothing like starting out at the top for me. I don't even think it's up for grabs or consideration. Eldora Speedway is the most famous dirt track in the world, period. Nobody brings in what they bring in. The World 100, the Dream, the Million, the USAC Sprints, the World of Outlaws, the All-Stars, the Kings Royal. I mean, the Knoxville Nationals may be the most famous sprint car event, but hands down, Eldora is the most famous dirt track in the world, barring nothing. But yeah, he put his arm around me and said, "You did a good job, son." This is what he said. He said, "Come over here and scratch your name and number on the wall." That's what he said to me. And at the time, I think they were redoing the pilot house up there. They had fresh drywall. It hadn't been, textured yet. It was just drywall, bare drywall. So I walked up to that wall, and you talk about brazen and bold. Now I've got my chest puffed out. I walked up to that wall with my pen, and I wrote my name about that wide. I'm talking 2-3 feet wide, and my number the same. I bet it's still up there. I know it's covered up and refinished now, but I'm sure my name and number that big is still on that wall. And I left that day, and I was the proudest human on earth that I had the guts to walk up to Earl Baltes and ask for the opportunity. I guess that old lesson that you got to at least, the answer is always no unless you ask. It's mostly no, but you got to at least try. And I was so scared and so proud of myself that I at least got through it, And then a couple weeks later, the All-Stars were coming, and now I'm getting brazen and bold. I call Eldora Speedway. Sometimes Earl answered the phone. I think if you call now, I don't think Tony Stewart's going to answer the phone. But back then, Earl would answer the phone every now and then. And I called early that morning. He said, "Hello, Eldora Speedway?" I said, "I want to talk to Earl Baltes." Oh, yeah, woo, listen to me. And he goes, "Speaking." And I went, and I said, "Look, the All-Stars are there tonight, boy." He goes, "Are you coming?" I said, "Oh, I'd love to come, sir. Yes, sir, I'm coming." He goes, "Well, if you come, you're going to announce." And I went, "Oh my God, this is a dream come true for me." And I came and I did more announcing that time. And by then, the promoter for Portsmouth Raceway Park, he was there. He was a friend of Earl's, Max Warnock. Some of you may remember him. He passed away of cancer many years ago now. But after I got done announcing, I was just hanging around up there. And he walked up to me and said, "Son, you looking for a job?" I said, "Oh, yes, sir, I am. I want to be an announcer, sir. Yes, sir, I'm looking for a job." By now, I'm 32 years old. So I got a late start in racing in terms of my professional career, if I can call it professional. I consider Eldora Speedway very professional. But he said, "You looking for a job?" He goes, "Because I need a full-time announcer at Portsmouth Raceway Park." I said, "I'll take it." I didn't even know where Portsmouth was. As it turns out, it's down on the Ohio River, 4 hours from my home. I said, "I'll take it." I didn't even ask how much it cost. I think I would have done it for free. But I said, "I'll take it." He goes, "You got it." And I said, "I'll see you down there." I didn't even know if they were going to cover my hotel or what they were going to pay me. I didn't care. If you want to get started in this business, you take what's there. And it turns out the place was a brand new little dirt track right off the Ohio River. You can see the river and the mountains in Kentucky. It's a very beautiful setting. And I loved my time there. I spent 4 years, something like that, as their first announcer at Portsmouth Raceway Park. And by then, I started working at the other tracks. I was doing Limaland on Friday and Portsmouth on Saturday and Millstream Speedway in Findlay on the way home on Sunday night. I never had so much fun. And of course, Earl eventually hired me as his full-time announcer in 1996. I was there 1 year. And back then, we didn't have all the help, there was no flow racing and dirt vision, and I did it all. The World 100, 286 car, whatever it was. I mean, you had a little help every now and then, some area announcers, but mostly I did it all, and I was fine with that. I wanted to do it all. That was my dream, to be the announcer, but my name, I guess, by then was starting to get out, and by then, Ron Drager, the president of ARCA, he knew I was living locally in the area. ARCA is from my hometown of Toledo, and then he offered me the position as a public relations director at ARCA, which I took. And stayed there 23 years as their full-time PR guy at ARCA, where I learned so much. I did 454 consecutive ARCA races, 454 consecutive. I never missed an ARCA race for my entire tenure at ARCA. And I'm the only one there who never missed an ARCA race outside of the president, Ron Drager. But I never missed for anything. And I drove to every one of them. We didn't fly. We piled in prison vans and went down the road and ate gas station hot dogs and doubled up in motel rooms. I didn't get my own room. I drove to every one of those races. Daytona, Talladega, Pocono, Michigan, Kansas, Texas, Pikes Peak. Never missed one. And that's how it went for me. And then my career at ARCA ended, and I've been taking care of my mom for 3 years. That became my job. So she recently passed away this year, June 26th, and I miss her a lot. I never realized how much. That's how it always goes. But in between trying to create the History Mystery Man on YouTube, every time I'd go to the track, I had to find someone and pay someone to quality help to look after my mom. But I got more time now, and if you've got ideas, I'm ready for them. Again, this is all about thanking you. I've gone on way too long, I'm sure, but thank you for all the support. I do get a lot of support from all over the world. I hear from people from South Africa and Scotland and England, a lot of friends now in Australia and New Zealand. I'm very grateful for. I'm shifting gears now from racing season, hope you enjoyed the coverage, to the Great Lakes maritime industry, which has worldwide appeal. I had no idea when I started doing videos on the Edmund Fitzgerald. By the way, season 3 with Captain Darrell Walton on the Edmund Fitzgerald coming your way here on the History Mystery Man very, very soon. Very excited about that. The biggest numbers I've ever pumped out on this channel came from my videos with Captain Darrell regarding the Edmund Fitzgerald, the ill-fated freighter that broke apart and sank in November 10th, 1975. All hands lost. 29 men went down with the Fitzgerald. Captain Darrell's uncle, Ralph Grant Walton, was an oiler on the Fitzgerald and went down with the ship. So he has a personal connection to the story. And I do too, living out there for as long as I did. But that's coming more with Captain Darrell Walton and the Edmund Fitzgerald. And my goal is just to keep this thing going and see where it goes. And if you can help. If you can't, that's okay too. I'm so grateful for all of you. I really, really am. And wishing you all a happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, and a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. God bless everyone.